Hi, I'm Dr. Bliss and I make beer sometimes. I don't know about you, but the first thing I reach for in the morning, nice cup of coffee. It's not a beer. Unless you're in an airport, anything goes in an airport, it doesn't count. Now, for me, personally, breakfast is all about bananas and coffee. But for a lot of people, the first thing they reach for is porridge. I do love porridge. I'm a fan of porridge. Now, I recently had a beer that got my cogs whirring a bit. It was by a brewery called Seven Brothers, quite a popular brewery. They make quite a lot of sort of supermarket level beers. And they made a beer called the Throwaway IPA. And what was really interesting about it is that it used rejected cornflakes as part of its grist, which I thought was awesome. The beer itself had that typical flaked maize flavour, that sort of sweet, dry flavour. It really contributed to the overall lightness of the beer and really helped the hops to pop through. Now, a number of years ago, I had a different beer. Obviously that's stupid. Yeah, of course I've had beers. What am I even trying to say? A number of years ago, I had a beer by Innis & Gunn, which is a Scottish brewery. It was just their regular lager. But what's interesting about this lager is that it used golden naked oats, which I'm a big fan of golden naked oats. I've used it in the past. But it's not necessarily the first thing I'd grab for a lager, but it definitely made an impact on that beer. And it was particularly tasty, actually. It was definitely one of the better supermarket lagers you can kind of get your hands on. Now that gave me an idea. What if we made a lager with porridge oats and cornflakes? Would that be the ultimate airport lobby lager? There's no need to wonder what that's going to taste like. We're going to find out. I'm calling this one the breakfast lager. Right, kitchen looks chaotic because it is chaotic. I've just spent the last half an hour cleaning all my brew equipment, which I always do after a brew, but it's been so long since I've done one now that everything's just not clean anymore. So I had to take everything apart, wash and clean everything. But it seems like we're ready to go now, so let's get started. So let's start by talking about water. In this particular case, I went for a fairly light, low minerality, sort of Pilsner style sort of thing, balanced chloride to sulfate ratio with fairly low calcium. So we've hit our mash in temperature, which is 66 degrees Celsius. Reason being, we're doing a step mash today. We're doing half an hour at 64 degrees and half an hour at 68 degrees. I mean, you don't really have to, but it might help to make the beer dry, a bit more fermentable, because you're breaking it down into short chain and long chain sugar separately. Whether or not it actually makes a difference is kind of a contentious topic, but I'm gonna rock with it today. So we might as well talk about grain. So our main base today, 1.5 kilos of Munton's Pilsner malt. Nice British grown Pilsner malt, British kilned, pretty basic. Now, we've also got, obviously, 500 grams of premium cornflakes. Well, they're not actually premium cornflakes, they're just Tesco's own cornflakes, but they're cornflakes. They're flakes of corn, flakes of maize, same thing. It's going to do what we want it to do. We're also going for 500 grams of these rolled oats. These are Scottish porridge oats. This is just porridge oats. It's not that complicated. They contain beta-glucans, which is good. Yeah, I forgot what beta-glucans are. And because they've been rolled, they're already pre-gelatinized, so you can just chuck these straight into a mash and they're absolutely golden. Now, they're not the only oats that are going in this. I have a little slither of golden naked oats. I thought I had 250 grams of this left, but I don't, so I'm just gonna put however much of this is in there. I do love me some golden naked oats, so yeah. Cool. Couple extra things I'm going to just chuck in. 100 grams of Vienna malt, just because it's going to add a little bit of colour, a little bit of depth, a little bit of toast. And then you may remember this. This is leftover Imperial malt from the Random Beer Challenge. 100 grams of that. Can't hurt. Maybe 100 grams, if there's 100 grams of this left. Carapils. Yeah. So let's get that measured and inside. Getting the feeling I may end up with a bit of a stuck mash. In goes 500 grams of porridge oats. Oh yeah, this is just sludge. Actually, it seems to be loosening up a bit now. I'm not actually sure I'm going to need rice hulls. Alright, onwards with more stuff. Now this is a mixture of 150 grams of golden naked oats, 100 grams of Vienna, 75 grams of Imperial and 75 grams of carapils. It's having a bit of a mare trying to recirculate, to be honest. I kind of expected it. I actually skipped out on the rice hulls in the end because it looked like it was doing okay, but it's struggling to recirculate, so this is going to be a bit of a tough sparge. I can always add rice hulls later in the sparge process. I mean, they don't contribute any sort of taste or sugar or anything, so I can chuck them in whenever I need, but I don't really know what I expected, why I didn't expect this. I've literally combined cornflakes and porridge and somehow expecting it not to be thick and gloopy. I don't really know what I was expecting there. That is concerning. There's zero flow. That is the stuck sparge. Rice hull time. That is much better. You see, I think I was a bit blasé about how sticky things can be when you involve that much oats. Really, I should have put rice hulls in from the start. I don't know why I didn't. I just kind of didn't want to. And I don't know why. The efficiency is probably pants, but it'll be beer. So. Let me tell you what, that's a hell of a protein break. Goodness me. So we've just hit rolling boil, so you know what that means. Time to talk about hops. And if you haven't already guessed, I'm going for a traditional noble hop today. So Hallertau Mittelfrüh, classic German lager hop. Didn't want to get too crazy with it. I've already got so much going on in this beer with the cornflakes and the porridge oats that I thought I'd just keep it simple, something tried and tested. Now this particular batch of Hallertau Mittelfrüh is only 3.4% alpha acid. I mean, that is kind of what you expect from a noble hop. If you are not familiar with Hallertau Mittelfrüh, it's one of the most popular hops used in Germany for German lagers. This says that the characteristics are herbal, floral and grassy. Honestly, if you're someone who just drinks beer, this will help get you towards that taste. And I think that's probably good for what we're looking for. So 30 grams of this going in at 60 minutes and then about 15 grams at 15 minutes. And that's all we're going to do. Not crazy hoppy beer. I promise you I will do some crazy hoppy beers. It's just not been on my list yet, but I promise you we'll do some hop bombs soon. Promise. So I just put the chiller on. Kind of had to stop filming because it was just getting so hectic in there, and it's just, I'm just really tired. But basically everything seemed to go okay. Chiller's in, it's cooling down. Did the 15-minute hop addition. Added a third of a tablet of well flock as well, even though it's still going to be hazy, so I don't really know why I bothered. Yeah, just sanitizing my new fermenter. So maybe we'll talk about that now. This is my new fermenter slash unitank. It is a Firmzilla 3.2 with the full kit on it. I do have the collection jar. Future Dr. Bliss here from actually a future video, but don't worry about that. I wanted to explain a little bit more about why I'm so excited about the Firmzilla, and that's because of this. The 2-inch butterfly valve and the trub dump container slash dry hopping container. So what this is essentially a small pressure rated container with PCO 1881 threads, which is normal Coke bottle threads, which means that you can attach these quick disconnects to it. Now what this means, alongside this self-explanatory butterfly valve, is that I can do two really important things. Number one, I can ferment a beer with the valve closed, fill this container up with dry hops, use the gas in and out to actually purge this container, remove the oxygen and replace it with carbon dioxide. And then when I'm ready to do the dry hop, I simply release the butterfly valve, which will introduce the beer to the dry hops. That way we have an 100% oxygen-free dry hop. You might be wondering why that's a big deal. Well, it's a contentious topic, it's a long topic, but essentially oxygen is bad. Oxygen can make a beer taste like wet cardboard. The hoppier the beer, the more susceptible it is to oxygenation. So this is going to completely guard against oxidation. The other really important thing that this is going to allow me to do is collect and harvest yeast. Once a beer is finished fermenting, the yeast settles and falls to the bottom of the fermenter. What this allows me to do is actually ferment with the valve open so that the yeast will collect in this jar. Then what I can do is actually close the valve and remove this container. Now I've got an entire container of healthy, viable yeast that I can reuse in a later beer. I can even transfer the yeast left over in here into a jar and put it in my fridge. Then I can use it many months in the future if I want to. So, two main things: oxygen-free dry hopping and yeast collection. I don't have the carbonation caps for them yet. So there's kind of no point using it, and I'm not doing a dry hop in this beer, and I'm not planning to reuse the yeast. It's just a cheap yeast. We'll talk about that a bit more later. But one accessory that I do have is the Thermowell, which I'm really excited about. I was a little bit disappointed that the malt miller, I got this from the malt miller, or my wife did for me as a present, they didn't include a floating dip tube. Now, I did have one, but it came from a skanky keg that I hadn't used in ages, so I had to wash it, and it's a bit smelly. And I've cleaned it with VWP, and I've really done the best I could to clean it properly. So it's probably fine, but come on, would have been nice to just have a nice new dip tube. I mean, they're not expensive, it's just a bit of tube. So yeah, really excited to start using this. I am going to ferment this beer under pressure, 15 psi, because I can. And so yeah, really excited to start using this. The wort is in the fermenter. It's time to pitch the yeast. Sanitized scissors, sanitized yeast. Now this is just Versalager from Mangrove Jacks, which is, as far as I can tell from the times I've used it and cross-referenced some of the details, I'm like 90% sure this is just repackaged Nova Lager, which is fine. Some people love this yeast, some people hate this yeast. I tell you what I think it was the only yeast that I had left in my fridge. That's what I think. But I think it's going to do a good job. I'm going to run it at about 18 degrees, but I'm going to run it under 15 psi pressure, obviously, because I have a pressure fermenter now. So cool. Yeah, so let's pitch it. And then you plonk that down. That goes over the top. Oops. And we hit it with some cheeky gassaroni. There you go, there's just 10 psi in there. And what I'm going to do, tighten this all the way up, whack this on. That's showing 5 psi, so I just want to back it off a bit. I didn't sanitize this, I wonder if I should have. Let me just quickly hit it. I'm like almost all the way unscrewed now. So that's given me a rough setting of just over 5 psi. I will check it in the morning. And just adjust it up and up and up until I get to 15 psi. You can, what I often do is gas it up to 20 psi and then just dial it down to 15, but I'm just going to let it go at 5 for a bit and then I'll just check it tomorrow morning. It's about 8:30, so going to do some cleaning up, lots of cleaning up to do, and then we're just going to let this go overnight and we're going to see what we've got in the morning. It is, if you have a look, about as clear as muck. It is, yeah, so not clear at all. Probably will not make a clear beer, but I mean, it's 25% oats, bruv. It's 25% oats. What do you want? What do you want? It's going to be hazy. You're going to have to live with it, okay? If you don't like it, it's not my problem. So here we are, about 12 hours later. I love having a clear fermenter. I can see everything that's going on. There is activity. I might have had a slight underpitch really with just one packet of dry yeast, considering, you know, the starting gravity was 1050 and I don't know, there's probably about 15 or 16 litres in there maybe. But it does look like there is activity, pretty good going. So it's kind of hard to see because the walls of the FermZilla are getting a bit clouded up. The bubbles, the yeasty bubbles are getting much larger and they're pretty much across most of the surface of the wort now. And also telltale sign that things are going well. We are making our own heat, quite a lot of it as well, which I'm not particularly worried about because at the end of the day, we are under pressure. As you can see, it's really starting to creep up towards that 15 number. Things are looking good. I'm happy. So here we are, day 2 of fermentation. We have exponentially increased in temperature. And I can't really think of an easy way to cool this down. I think it just goes to show how valuable this thermal well really is, because this is showing what the true temperature is at the center of the brew. Now I pitched at about 19 degrees Celsius, so it's only a couple degrees increase, but it's still putting it a little bit higher than I wanted to, and right now I can't think of any easy ways to cool this down. It's not really a big deal because we are under pressure, but it's a sunny Tuesday afternoon. This beer has been fermenting for just over a week. In all truthfulness, it actually hit 1010 within 65 hours, which is incredible. It just goes to show what you can do with pressure fermenting at high temperatures. Now, the FermZilla is currently in my garage just because it's been quite warm at the moment. It's warm in my flat, but the evenings are clear, so they're a bit colder. I'm hoping that a couple days in the garage is enough of a cold crash to do something. Unfortunately, I don't have a fridge yet. I'm still waiting to get power in my garage, but once I do, I'll have a fridge and I'll be able to do some proper cold crashes. Now, I also don't know how much of the breakfast lager I actually have because I haven't been able to stick the volume indicators on the side of the FermZilla yet, but I think I have about 15 litres. So the plan is I'm going to put 5 litres in bottles and 10 litres in one of my freshly sanitised kegs. Now those of you who do pressure fermenting a lot probably have something that I don't. Now that would be a counter pressure bottle filler. I don't have one of those yet. Not that I'd be able to use it properly anyway because I don't have an ability to, because I don't have a fridge to cut. Not that it would be much benefit to me anyway because I don't have a fridge, so I can't carbonate in the FermZilla and then bottle it fully carbonated. So my method of bottling is quite simple. I'm just going to stick this tap on the FermZilla. Now the way I'm going to do this is attach a little bit of tubing to the bottom of this tap, and that way I can fill the bottles from the bottom. Now I am going to add some sugar to the bottles so that they can naturally carbonate via bottle conditioning. Now some people might wonder, well hold on, you've just fermented under pressure, surely the beer will be carbonated a bit. Well, at room temperature and at relatively low pressure, it's unlikely that there's going to be much carbonation, at least nowhere near the amount that we would actually need. Plus, the process of actually bottling it this way without counter pressure will release quite a lot of the CO2 that's suspended in the liquid anyway, so we're pretty much going to ground zero. I have tested this, but you know what homebrewing's like, you just never know what's going to happen. But that's the way I'm going to go, that's how I'm going to do it. Now as for transferring to the keg, well that's a lot simpler. Simply going to sanitize the keg and equalize the pressure between the FermZilla and the keg. Then I'll connect the beer out of the FermZilla into the beer out of the keg. That will fill it up from the bottom of the dip tube. And don't forget, I've still got the CO2 posts of the FermZilla and the keg connected. Then what I'd do is release a bit of pressure from the keg, which would then cause the pressurized headspace in the fermenter to push the beer into the keg, displacing the oxygen that's in the keg back into the fermenter. After the whole process is done, I'll just simply purge the headspace. Might be a bit difficult with only 10 litres in there, but I'll just do plenty of purges. Plus, this isn't an overly hoppy beer. I'm not particularly worried about oxidation, but I'll do the best that I can to combat it. Right, let's get cracking. So all the bottles are dry now, or dry-ish. Set the gas regulator to 2 psi, so just enough to push it all out. Decided to forgo the tap in the end and built this sort of bottling wand basically. So going to roll with that. It's been fully sanitized, ready to go. So yeah, just time to put some carbonation drops and some caps and get going. So another quick explanation and demonstration of how this works. Now, I did decide against doing a closed loop system in the end because I just couldn't be bothered to send oxygen back in, if that makes sense. So what happens is, this is a jumper line. This is the beer, you can see it nice and clear. Coming into here. This is a spunding valve set to release pressure. So you can, well, there's no pressure in it right now. Actually, it's not even connected. What am I doing? Just purge it every so often. And so what's happening here is that gas is being pushed in here, pushing the beer down and pushing it up through this tube into the keg. And once this is all done, we'll purge the headspace of the keg with CO2 and we'll be all good to go. That signifies that we're quite near the end. But I can kind of move the dip tube along a bit and see if we can get a little bit more. I think we're getting close to our practical end here. Let's see what a 10-day-old lager tastes like. It should taste bad. It should taste bad. It smells like a lager, quite bready. Very sweet. Very sweet. Concerningly sweet. Considering I just measured it, it definitely is 10-10. I mean, maybe not unconcerningly sweet. Maybe not concerningly sweet. I mean, it's quite clean. You can definitely taste it needs conditioning. And to be cold and to be fizzy, but it's a step in the right direction, although maybe not what I expected. It's been some time, this has been lagering for some time. I feel positive about it though, we'll have a look. Decent head, absolutely crystal clear, which is not what I was expecting at all. Decent carbonation, smells lagery, obviously, quite sort of German kind of vibe. I'm just really impressed with the clarity, to be perfectly honest with you. It's okay. There is a significant cornflake aftertaste, but not in a particularly... I wouldn't say it's unpleasant, but the mouth feels absolutely great. The head is great, although no lacing. I don't think it's going to hold a head very long. The initial hit is just straight up lager, but there's a secondary sort of sweet note to it that I'm not 100% sure I'm on board with. It's a sort of heavy aftertaste of cornflakes. I'm honestly just not a huge fan. I mean, it's not a disaster, it's beer, but ultimately, I think it just falls a little bit short of the mark of something you'd really want to sesh in an airport. Probably shouldn't be too harsh on myself. At the end of the day, it's beer, it's alcoholic, it was successful, and we are talking about breakfast cereals here. So I should probably give myself a bit of a pat on the back, even if it's a little bit mid, with a little bit of a funky cornflake taste going on at the back. I could still guarantee probably 50% of people that get served this beer would absolutely still crush it and not really think twice about it, but I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's not that bad actually. I think I'd just choose to drink something else. I think that's all it really boils down to. Anyway, I'm Dr. Bliss. Go have a beer.